Hello and welcome back to our segment. I haven't seen the movie, but Nick has.
That's me.
So today we're going to be talking about The Phantom Thread, which, to my knowledge, is a 1950s film that is set in the fashion world, correct?
Yeah, that's a good way to start off.
All right.
So, basically, Daniel Day-Lewis is Mr. Woodcock.
Okay.
Which, great name. And he's a fashion designer. Oftentimes, he's struggling through his work. He wants to make the best thing. He doesn't feel like he gets the best people to show it off. So, like, there's certain points in the movie where, like, there's a drunken royalty who's wearing his dress, and he feels she's so unworthy that when she leaves the ball, he goes in and rips the dress off of her because she's soiling his good name.
Wow.
But at one point, he goes out to eat and goes by the seaside, and he sees a waitress and realizes that she has the perfect dimensions to model all of his clothes. Okay. And starting off, you're like, oh, is this like a romance? Yeah. Like, is that what this is going to be? But you've also seen in the beginning just how passive-aggressive he can be, where one of the very first lines he says in the movie is he sits down to breakfast with the original woman who's living with him, and she tries to talk to him during breakfast, and he just goes, I cannot have conflict in the morning. And she's like, what are you talking about? He's like, is your intention to ruin my day and possibly my whole life?
Oh my god.
That is a theme throughout the whole movie, is if his concentration is broken, nothing falls on his fault. It's always someone else's fault. And just basically his conflict of having his art show, his dealing with his mother's death and constantly like, oh, I like to keep her close to me, so he sewed some of her hairs into his jacket because he needs to keep that close to him. And it's very interesting to see the power dynamic, because as the movie goes on, more power is given to the woman who he chooses to show off the clothes. And like as we go through, we see slowly how he adores her because she fits the image. But the second she's like, well, I don't like this, he's like, well, you'll learn to like it. Not oh, well, I'll find something different, or that's okay. It's you will learn to like it because I know I'm right and you're not. And
so when you say the shift of power, then what do you mean by that? Is that power?
He has the power in the relationship because he's the rich one. He's the designer.
Yes. All right.
At one point, she tries to bring him tea, and he's in the middle of his work, and he's like, "This is unacceptable." And she's like, "It's okay, I'll leave." And she's like, "You have left, but the interruption has stayed."
There's tea for you.
Don't put the tray on the table, please. Just take it off. I didn't ask for tea.
No, but...
Take it out, please.
Yes, I can take it out.
It's a bit late now, isn't it?
I'm taking it out.
Yeah, but it's a bit late now, isn't it?
But I'm taking it out.
The tea is going out. The interruption is staying right here with me.
And basically just,
oh my god,
you cannot interfere in my work because this is more important than you can imagine. And at one point, he gets sick and he's overworked. He needs to take a rest, and it's the one time where he's actually emotional and caring, and they lie together, and like they feel a sense of togetherness. And
because he's at his weakest, though.
he's at his weakest. And finally she can take the power, and this goes into darker areas as the movie progresses, basically to the point where she attempts to disable him so that way she can bring him down and bring him back to that.
Oh, man.
And without spoiling and going through the whole movie, it's just very interesting to see the shift between this and just how tormented he is and then how tormented she is as a result of it, and just basically bringing down the power. And it's one of the most passive-aggressive movies I've ever seen in my whole life. God. Just even with the lines that I just said, you can very much see it. And just the camera work is great. It's gorgeous. All the obviously the fashion itself is gorgeous. Daniel Day-Lewis is. Would you not expect him to bring a perfect 10? And just even the sound design. So there's one point where he's having breakfast with her, and you're meant to. You already know that he's annoyed if someone talks during it, and you hear her butter toast, and it is. They have amplified it 1,000 times, so it sounds like nails on a chalkboard, and you're basically thrown into his mind of like how he views it. You're switched between these two characters, both of which you have a great vested interest in. And I think that one of the most surprising things is people go, oh yeah, this is the Daniel Day-Lewis movie, but most of the movie is based on her.
Okay.
which at this point I saw the movie about a month and a half ago. I can't quite remember her name.
Yeah.
I know she's an up-and-coming actress and really hasn't been in anything else, but the fact that she can stand up with this titan of an actor and basically steal the show is pretty fantastic.
Wow.
It's a little bit of a slow burn, as you kind of expect, and if you've seen any other like Paul Thomas Anderson movies like The Master or There Will Be Blood,
Okay.
there's lots of long contemplative silences and basically long shots on scenes, but it's not done unintentionally. Like every single part has a purpose.
Okay.
And yeah, personally, I think it's aside from probably There Will Be Blood, I think it's the most beautifully shot movie he's made. And yeah, Daniel Day-Lewis does a great job.
Yeah.
Like I said, the supporting actress does a fantastic job, and just as a whole, it was just a very enjoyable movie to watch.
Supporting actress, though, is she? You know, she is considered though a supporting actress, though.
I think she technically counts as a leading actress. His sister was on it. Yet again, I am embarrassed that I forgot the actors' names, but she is nominated for Best Supporting Actress. Sadly, the leading actress is not, which I think it was more. There have been great leading roles for women this year, and it honestly doesn't surprise me that this one was kind of thrown away.
Comparatively,
yeah, comparatively, yeah.
That's fair.
It's just a matter of what happened to come out this year. But yeah, personally, I really, really, really enjoyed this film. It was very artful.
Okay. And I also want to talk about, because this is Daniel Day-Lewis's last film, and I did see like...
So he says.
So he says, that's true. But I remember, I don't know where I saw it, but it was like he talked about like this one being the most like emotionally, physically... It was like, as he was doing his method acting or whatever it is, like he just kind of... I feel like he felt that he lost himself in it a little bit. I have to find the interview, or it was something... There was some interview about that.
Well, he does kind of, like, when he did The Boxer, he became a professional lightweight boxer.
Yeah.
When he did There Will Be Blood, he permanently damaged his leg by working on the limp that Daniel Plainview was supposed to have. For this, he learned how to sew, and basically, he can do everything that he did in the movie. And it doesn't surprise me that he got lost, because yet again, I don't look at this as, oh, it's the new Daniel Day-Lewis movie. I look as, oh, it's the... That's Mr. Woodcock. Like, there's no... It's very hard to say this is a Daniel Day-Lewis role.
Yeah.
Because every single role is so different. And every single one... Yeah, you look at this and you look at Bill the Butcher, and they are not even on the same level, but they are just both so great.
Yeah, they are. He is... Which is just...
He is the actor.
Yes, which is insane. So... You want to just take a moment to grab your needle and your thread and thread the needle from the wonderful movie of Phantom Thread all the way to Signs?
I think I'd love to.
My analogy got a little lost there.
If we look at this movie quickly, we can see that Daniel Day-Lewis was in it, obviously. He was in Gangs of New York with John C. Reilly, who was in Step Brothers with Will Ferrell, who was in Daddy's Home 2 with Mel Gibson, who was in Signs. If you're listening to a lot of these videos in a row, you'll notice that the last couple tend to line up, and I promise I'll try to change them up sooner.
They're a crutch.
But, yeah, a crutch, how dare you, sir. I'd like to see you try. But I promise the next one that comes out, I'll try to do something a little different. So.
Thank you all for listening, and we'll talk to you again soon.